Alright, here for match number 1. We got a 4-land on a draw, which just isn't quite good enough. Hand's a bit risky, but we'll try it. Probably putting back Skull Crack. So, we draw a second land, and the first 2 draw steps this hand should be pretty close to unbeatable. The demarcation is you really want to be on 2 or 3 lands on 7 cards, which does put you mulliganing a lot of hands, but 4 lands is just too much. You just don't have enough resources to work in the game with. So okay, looks like we might be up against Belcher, perhaps? Land? Not land, but we do have 1 more turn to buy it, so. Looking like Belcher to me. Could die as soon as turn 2 if they have like Ritual, Ironcrag Feed, Belcher. We could just be dead this turn. Should be 3 mana, 4 mana, Ironcrag Feed, lethal. Land? Alright. Not ideal to be taking this much damage, but our opponent's not going to be. Alright, that's a good chance that we're dead now. Because that probably gives them double Ritual in hand. Sideboarding, we're going to want copies of Wear, Tear, and Smash. Obviously, Searing Blaze is kind of useless in this matchup. Deflecting Palm would be like the best card in this matchup. But they have ways around it, like Pack of Negation and such, so. But yeah, there's probably a good chance we're dead here. It could have Recross the Paths, which is probably also lethal. Belcher confirmed. Anything surprising in their list? Packs of Negation, Song Mad Treachery. Do they no longer run? Oh no, or Forge the Soul. Okay. That is the one I was looking for. So, what would we need to kill them this turn? We have 6 or 5 damage on board. If I draw a bolt or a skewer, that'd be +4, +4, 8. So +4, 8, plus the existing 5. So if I draw a bolt or a skewer, we have a turn 3 kill. Not a bolt or a lava spike. Because that'd be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 13. So we have an 8-outer that just kills them on turn 3. With Clash. Which I believe with Clash, we would have a chance to scry another one to the bottom. So basically, if we have a bolt or a skewer in the top 2, we just win. Not bolt. Bolt or spike, not skewer. Actually, it's 8 out of 51. That goes to the bottom. So, on tap, do we kill you? Get to see what they have on top. There's the Reforge the Soul. Alright, we have a turn 4 win. Do they kill us next turn? Probably, good chance. So Reforge the Soul requires them to use all of their mana here. Okay. How do you win from 1 mana? I'm curious. Without Simian Spirit God, I don't know if they can win from 1 mana. Alright, so putting max pressure on killed them. Alright, so definitely want the wear tears. Definitely want the smashes. Do these Belcher decks usually include Leyline? Belcher. Belcher Modern. They do indeed. So we need these. Go down. The Searing Blazes. Go down. Skull Cracks, perhaps. Because their decks don't usually have. And bring in Sanctifier in back, which looks a little random, but the reason behind it is sometimes if they mulligan aggressively towards a leyline hand, you have to get a little creative with how you board. So this hand is not the best, but I think because of the possibility of ley line, we just keep it. Turn 1, nothing, okay. Alright, well, it's a decent progression hand at least. They don't cast anything for free out of their deck, so it's not like... Okay, so I thought that was crazy, but there actually is a variant of Belcher with Prison that I played against. So white, interesting. Reckless handling, okay. So they discard Selling Mad Treachery, so decent chance we're dead next turn. It's kind of like gamble for artifacts. Alright. Not the best card, but... Opponent takes 2, takes a third, +5, +4. Really like the look of Bryant Cook's version of Belcher, which is like replaces some of the red cards for okay, we've got to be dead, right? Ritual, Iron Crag Feet. Nope, just Char Belcher. Okay. So is that lethal? I think we have Exaxes. If they don't have... Actually, if they do have Pact of Negation, it is relevant. And goodbye, and good night. Match 2 on play. Yes. This hand's decent. No early 1-drop, but we have, or 1-drop creature, but we have Riftbolt into Skewer or Riftbolt into Searing Blast, depending on the matchup. So we are taking a decent bit of damage here. So this hand is a bit clunky, which could be a concern. Basic Mountain, Suspend Riftbolt. Okay, so looks like we're up against the Burn Mirror. Was a bit foolish. Does save us a little bit of damage though, so maybe it's worth it. Opponent's going to take 6 in their upkeep. So. They have no choice but to cast the Riftbolt. Mm-hmm. Sure. Get a 9. Sure. Well, it could kill us during the upkeep, potentially. If they have, like, double bolt or something. Better not to leave it the chance. We took more damage from our lands, but our opponent took a full Rift Bolt to the face. Unfortunately, I think with this build, without having Path or Deflecting Palm, we just literally have to click Submit. So... one of those matchups where you kind of wish you had Skullcrack in your list, or not Skullcrack, you had Lightning Helix in your list. Well, it does nothing. Swift Spear. You have a bolt. It's a bolt that's not going to our face, so I guess we should be thankful. Rolling Vortex, sure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. Swift Spear here and pass. Definitely not casting Rough Bolt. Guarantee you nobody's suspending a Rough Bolt in this game. Sure, puts us to 7. Pass turn. Good chance we're just dead here, so. Opponent's hand was hyper efficient. Boop. The only thing we might have going for us is maybe they have like double Searing Blaze in hand or something. But I feel like we're just edge. Opponent should just pass and let us die. Like, the best card we could have is Lightning Helix, and even that's just kind of whatever. Sure. Looks like we both had to leave in Roiling Vortex, so these Rift Bolts get a little awkward. Alright, is there any changes we could make? Those smashes, sanctifiers. Keep hands fine-ish. Probably should have not cracked that fetch if I wasn't planning on holding up Bull here, if I was just planning on casting Spike. But we have kind of priced ourselves in Lightning Bolting here. Kind of want to bait them into casting Rift Bolt again. Apologies for Charmed being in the background. Good chance our opponent's a little light landed if they're playing Sunbit Canyon as their first land. Problem is, if our opponent has creatures now, we have no ways to answer them, so shock it up, shock it in. See if my opponent blocks. I just presume they will. So they have a Swizzle Spear coming down. Sure. Swiss 50. Goblin Guide. Okay. Show me lethal burn spell. Roiling Vortex is not a lethal burn spell. So, good chance we're down here. Okay, I got a 6. Give me another spell. Another 1-mana spell, I'm dead. Yay! Losing in a burn mirror. Alright, match 3. We are on the draw. Hand's a tiny bit awkward with no early 1-drops, but we do have Ripple into Vortex, so here we go. Okay, opponent with way too many stops. What, am I gonna get Chalice for 1 here? Feels like a Chalice. Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. See what you grab. Let me guess. Caldera complete. Do you have a Force of Negation to back this up? And then into Roiling Vortex, whether they counter it or not, and then we just go on our merry way. I mean, I guess if they counter it and we draw Searing Blaze or Bolt, we're kind of incentivized to do this. Tank, 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 tank. Alright, Vortex. Mm-hmm. Batter Skull, sure. Perfect card if they don't have Spell Pierce, which they don't. But I could easily have something like Geist of Saint Draft, which I have a feeling they might here. Okay, well, a little late on that Kira there. Mm-hmm. Do that. Did that way we can still activate Roiling Vortex here. Yeah, like Stern Scolding or something. No blocks. Okay. Like, I'm not going to respect Spell Pierce now that I've killed 2 Stoneforge Mystics. Or Force of Negation. Okay. You have a Solitude. Congratulations. Do you have an Ephemerate or something? Hardcast Batter Skull, hope you live. Sure. Now, there's nothing our opponent can have that keeps them alive, so. Because Force of Negation just kills them. Alright, Batter Skull. Let's see if there's a recent finish with Stoneforge, Mystic. Maybe there was a recent finish with the deck. Modern. Flopper Combo, Death and Taxes. Just got Control. Azorius Control. Yeah. Okay, so bringing in the pile of anti-counterspell nonsense, bringing in the pile of Smash to Smithereens, going down Rolling Vortex, maybe? It's actually kind of questionable, because they do have quite a decent amount of life gain. Go like this. Down like 2 Rift Bolts because of Teferi, perhaps. Alright, this hand is pretty decent. Goblin Guide into Searing Blaze on your Stoneforge Mystic. Seems pretty good to me. Oh, okay, so they're just actual factual spirits. So I'm kind of glad that Sanctifier and Vec. Okay. No Sanctifier and Vec coming down this turn. Sure. What's this for 3? Alright, so what we're going to do is do this, trigger that. Attempt to bolt Supreme Phantom, see if they counter it with that, which is kind of what we want. Okay, sure, whatever. Pitching Selfless Spirit, okay. Opponent just lets it go. Okay, I can respect that. So we know their hand is Sanctifier, 1 unknown, drawing Aether Vial. Okay, they play Aether Vial. Okay. That leaves me in a bit an awkward situation. They'll sack it, try to make me pay the 1, which I will. Okay, I love my wife, but man, Charmed is loud today. Okay, they're drawing a Mausoleum Wanderer, which gives them something to do with Vial. So they clearly don't have something like Surge of Salvation here. This could be an attempt to port in spirits from Pioneer format? Okay. We know 2 of the 3 cards in their hands, so I don't know how much we're actually playing around right now. This will be lethal if they don't do anything. So basically you just tapped in Force Spike. Opponent reveals Battle Chains. Okay. That's a good end to know about. With Sanctifier and Vac, Rattle Chains, 1 unknown, presumably something that's stranded in their hand. So maybe a piece of equipment or something like Spell Queller. or possibly another Solitude. Problem with Sanctifying back, like, it's a reasonable Magic card in a lot of matchups, but it's really not good against Burn. Like, sure, it's a chump blocker, it's, you know, I mean, you have a second Rattle Chains? Sure. And you're still dead on board, so... Land, land. Block, die. Alright, 2 and 1. Alright, match 4 against Senior Novels. 97. It's a keep. It's a little bit clunky, but we have Goblin Guide into 2-mana spells, so. Keep saying that. Okay, never mind. We are up against Scam. Yep, here we go with this bullshit. Goodbye, Searing Blaze. Goodbye, either Roiling Vortex or Goblin Guide would be my guess. Yep, they're going to Searing Blaze. Not dead after all. Goodbye, Goblin Guide. Vortex only makes sense if they have another Evoke set up for next turn, like a Fury plus red card and another Not Dead after all. So, I think they're weighing between that and Goblin God. Skullcrack just makes no sense. Okay. Bolt. Okay, Swifty is not the best, but not the worst here. Worst card for us off top of our opponent's deck would be Bowmaster or Ragavan supplementing their clock. Okay, so opponent has... Sure. Opponent's added a green splash, perhaps Haywire Might? Opponent draws, no, they're not dead after all. Which is either a dead card or it's going to like turbocharge their hand. Especially if they have like red card Fury. If the opponent's hesitating to attack, they've lost the game. I'm just going to chill back because not attacking, or a longer game actually favors us in most circumstances if our opponent's not attacking. Okay. Interesting choice of splash. Opponent can't afford to pitch cast Grief, or they just die. Nope. I will take the 4 and like it. You will play your Questing Druid. Okay, apparently not. Apparently you've drawn Bowmaster, perhaps? It's again no reason to attack. You're locked into playing your Bowmaster. It's the only card literally that makes sense. Nope, another Slay the Beast. Sure. Now you got Blood Curt Bowmaster. It goes to 9. These are the 2 that are playable this turn. So they could shock in and go to 8, which I was kind of hoping they would. So I really don't want to kill this Grief this turn anyway. So they're going to play Bowmaster because they have to. Put us to 5. Yep. So that puts them to 6. They have Bolt to kill us. More power to them. Alright, do you have Bolt? Then you die during upkeep. So range of cards they could have in their sideboard: Haywire Might, Abrupt Decay, or Assassin's Trophy. Card like Weather the Storm, while narrow, would be the most devastating. I think the switch is still the normal 4 Vortex for 4 Sanctifier. Okay. Not sure what this accomplishes other than showing us what's in your hand. This is going to be ping myself on my own. Yep. Okay. Sure. So, okay, yeah. All right, 4 Sanctifier and back in, 4 Roiling Vortex out. Smash doesn't make any sense. Firecraft doesn't make any sense. Wear Terror. I mean, they could have Chalice. I mean, it's a card they bring in. Like, sometimes it'll win them games, but sometimes it's just kind of a joke. Shieldred's really the card that's the biggest problem, but they've already made their burn matchup worse by making their mana base worse. In a matchup that's, like, highly predicated on them not taking any damage, and then gaining life with things like Shieldred, or, you know, casting things like the 2 mana, or Torok, getting rid of cards, or just having the Scam Fury opening, or an unanswered Ragavan. All of those are kind of their path to victory. Burns is very simply survive the early turns and then out top deck them. You know, one of the problems with a deck like Scam, or a deck like historically like Jund, I guess now it would be Jund Sagavan, against a deck like Burn, is you're relying on Thoughtseize and Grief to disrupt your opponent's thing, instead of cards like, you know, Stubborn Denial, Counterspell, you know, Stern Denial, or Stern whatever. You know, just different cards that, like, can disrupt what comes off the top of Burn's deck. Whereas, you know, decks like Murktide or historically Grixis Shadow, if you get into a longer game, it can be a lot trickier because, you know, Stubborn Denial, Counterspell, Spell Pierce, Flusterstorm, you know, all these cards can, like, while you're not disrupting Burn's hand, you are disrupting, you know, what their mana is being cast on. And if you're establishing a clock, like a Death Shadow or a Murktide or an unanswered Ragavan or a large Ledger Shredder, or, you know, all these different back in the day Gurmag Angler, you get into this weird situation where Burn actually the matchup gets a little bit worse once it gets beyond that turn 4, 5, 6. Whereas with Scam, generally speaking, you know, if their first couple of turns aren't insanely busted, then they're going to be in a world of trouble. That said, I mean, the Fury hand normally would be terrifying, but this we would prefer Fury over Grief. Now, if they go turn 1 Ragavan, then we're looking at Suspend Riftbolt, try to kill Ragavan, turn 2 Sanctifier, and back. If they have that double Scam or double Grief opening, it's a little bit more effective here because we have 2 cards they really don't want to see. And it looks like we're going to get scammed. The only question is it a Grief or is it a Fury? Apparently, unfortunately, it's Grief. But they are notably pitching a Sheoldred. Goodbye Sanctifier and Vec, goodbye Riftbolt. Now the problem this does leave for our opponent is the fact that if they don't have... yeah, this one, I mean, they didn't take Sanctifier, which is whatever, because we know they're taking Sanctifier this turn. I mean, they could take Goblin God and just leave us with nonsense, but that doesn't make much sense. If they had the other one that leaves it Undying Evil, and this was untapped, it would actually take away 2 of the damage from Goblin God. But that said, if we top deck a Bolt, we're just killing Grief, and then they're in this, like, impossible situation. Skewer is not ideal, but at least next turn it could potentially deal with this Grief. Opponent is drawing another Sheoldred, which is moderately terrifying if this game goes long. Opponent hits us for 4, which is fine. Opponent doesn't play a second land, which means I'm just going to go for the full-on empty my hand as quickly as possible and just ignore their Grief for now. Because they could have another Undying effect. Like, if they have Fatal Push, it's whatever. There's no way to play around that with this current hand, so... Opponent's going to draw their second land, which is annoying. Or has their second land now. So... So that unlocks things like Bowmaster. You just cast Void Walker, sure. Alright, there's the third land. That's getting terrifying. So they block Goblin Guide, take 2. Oh, okay, I'm fine with that block. Opponent goes to 4 to be able to do that. I don't know what else is in their hand is the problem. This could be like Fable. Suga consumes all, sure. Okay. Take 6 and like it. So even if they have Sheoldred, we have them dead. If they draw Bolt, then obviously we're in a world of trouble, but it is what it is. Like, we're literally in one of those situations where they have to have Bolt, or they're dead. If they have Bolt, we're dead. Now, they don't know that. They're trying to figure out what to play around, but they have to have Bolt, or they're dead. Which their deck only generally runs 2 copies of. Okay, so they're playing conservative, so they're just dead. Voidwalker. Alright, so good thing we drew Blaze, because this would not be lethal. Alright, but I can see he's at 1 life. Alright, match number 5, we're on the play. I can keep this hand, put back, fetch land. So we could have kept that 1-lander, but you're really supposed to mulligan the 1-landers with burns, so I'm just trying to be more disciplined with that. At least the 1-lander is on a 7-card hand. So 12 points of burn in hand, pretty reasonable spread of spells. Opponent goes. Okay, so Amulet. Mm-hmm. No reason to attack, because they'll just block. Mm-hmm. So they have bounce land and Titan. We're just dead next turn, so. Doesn't really do much for us here. Bowling Face might be better, but I just want to force through damage if we can. Opponent basically gets double Amulet next turn. Okay, so double Amulets, floating mana copy, 6 mana for Titan, another 2 bounce lands, triggers. Yeah, if they have Titan in hand, we're just dead, so. Yep, there's that. So opponent copies Amulets, plays bounce land, and then if they have Pact or anything here, we're dead. I mean, they can go through the motions, but I'm not conceding until I see a either Pact Summoner's Pact or Titan on the stack, or what's his name? Cultivator Colossus. There's a Summoner's Pact. Go get Primeval Titan, concede the game. Because that is more than lethal damage. If our opponent stacks triggers and all that nonsense correctly. 2 copies of that, leaving in the Vortexes, boarding out 2 copies of Searing Blaze, because it's kind of middling. Wear Tear hits Urza's Saga, as well as Amulet, and Dryad is the only reason I'm bringing it in. I don't like overboarding in this matchup. Could bring in Chalice on 0, but I think Roiling Vortex just does that better. Smash really isn't worth it. It's a little too narrow. It has a lot less targets. So, this is one of Burn's, like, terrible matchups. Sand's garbage. This hand is this hand salvageable? 9 points of burn, 12 points of burn. I think we gotta go 5. This hand's not great, but at least it's keepable. So go keep, put back, Rift Bolt, put back this. Is that the correct thing? No. Put back Skull Crack, put back Searing Blaze. Primeval Titan, alright. Turn 1, dry. Okay, so we wouldn't mind drawing a Wear Tear here. Alrighty then. Okay, so Rift Bolt, Skewer. One of the other problems is Titan just doesn't take damage from its lands. So it's just like Burn's antithetical matchup pretty much no matter what we do. And the fact that they're going to get basically 3 Amulet of Vigors means if they have a bounce land alone, we're dead next turn. So, okay. Or they can just... Are we dead this turn? Tap, untap, tap, untap. Azusa would be lethal here. Dryad. I think Dryad is 1 short. Unless they have a second Dryad, then it's another +1 mana. More Arboreal Grazer. Explore does it, doesn't it? Yep, that was a fun end of the league. Okay. Alright, so quick wrap here with the Burn deck that won the Modern Challenge on Friday night this past weekend. Things I like about it: 4 Exquisite Firecraft, although it never came up. I still think you want the split of Skullcrack and Lightning Helix of 2 and 2, especially if you're like playing Leagues or FNM. Just the Burn Mirror gets a lot tougher without some type of like Mirror Breaker, and Sanctifier in back is not a Mirror Breaker. It's not a card you bring in the mirror match because it makes your mana base do you that much damage, more damage, because otherwise you only ever need 1 white source to function. Now against decks like Evoke, Scam, it's a reasonable card. Against Jeskai Breach, it's a reasonable card, but basically it's in your sideboard for the Scam matchup. The rest of the sideboard, I don't know that I really missed Path Exile all that much. Deflecting Poem, the only match we possibly would have wanted it was against Belcher. And everything else, pretty standard fare. 2 Chalices, good in the Cascade matchups. Firecraft, all the blue decks, whether it be Omnath Pile, whether it be Murktide, Rhinos, that's a perfectly fine card to have as a 4 of right now. Smash and Wear Tear make perfect sense in a lot of situations. So can't really argue with this deck other than, maybe splitting the Skull Cracks and Lightning Helixes, but if you're expecting a lot of life gain, a lot of Omnaths, and not really much of the mirror, I can completely understand Lightning Helix, or foregoing Lightning Helix. But that is this week's Burn Week. Don't forget, if you like Burn content, like, comment, subscribe, and hope to see you for our next video.